All right, I'm coming to you from Dickinson, North Dakota, and I'm hoping that this will work. Here's the assignment. I hope that you've tried it out on your own already. I'm going to quickly run through and do the spend analysis kind of the way my mind works. Might be different from how you guys want to do it, but again, a spend analysis, the point of it is to take all the data that your company has, everything they've been spending their money on, and try to analyze it in a way that gives you some opportunities or some thoughts about things you can improve, or some cost savings opportunities, or some consolidation efforts, or a number of different things. This is one of the key items I want you to be able to do by the time you finish this class, is to be able to take data, quickly crunch it down, and identify some good things. I'm going to try to do this fairly quickly just because of the time of the video on Loom. First question I threw out here: what did the company spend in 2020, and what was their percentage change over the last 3 years? And what does that suggest? Let's take the data. For me, I'm a pivot table fanatic. You guys know that. So I come into my raw data. This data, it looks like it's going to be about 24,000 lines worth of data. That's going to take me a long time to go through, except if I use the magic and wonder of a pivot table. Insert, pivot table, it automatically gets all my data for me. Hit OK. First, let's just throw the 3 years up over here. Next, let's take my actual spend data, throw it in here. Why not change the format real quickly so that these become dollars? And when we're talking millions, we never need to know pennies, so let's get rid of those. Look at what we have here. 133 million up to 161 million up to 211 million. To answer this first question, I think I've already done it. I could even come and do some quick math. Remember, when you click into a pivot table, things get kind of funny, so I might just do the formula this way. I'll say B5 minus, well, let's do it this way. C5 minus B5. We throw that whole thing in parentheses, divided by the original, which was my B5. Turn that into a percentage. I had a 21% increase from 2018 to 2019. If I drag this over, formula carries over for me. And I see that from 2019 to 2020, I had another 10% improvement, or a total of 31% altogether. Well, 21% one year, 31% the next year. This could imply a few different things. What it most likely is implying is that either my expenses are going up, but that's pretty large for my expenses to be going up. I'd be pretty out of control company if I'm letting people increase that much. More likely what this is my revenue and market share are probably increasing, something along those lines. So we can think of this as either bad news or good news. In this case, it's probably good news. Let's take a look at our next question. Give me a quick chart with the top 10 spend categories and how much we spent there over the last 3 years. Once you've created a pivot table, you can actually copy that tab, and it's going to copy everything with you. Oops, sorry. Make sure when you copy it, hit the little create copy button. Now I'll just call this tab Q2. It wanted my top 3 spend categories. I'm going to get rid of these percentages I did earlier. When I click back in my pivot table, this table pops up over here again. I'm going to get rid of my years by just dragging them over here and reducing it down to just 2020, because that's what this question is asking for. 2020, I spent 211 million. Let's look at that by categories. I drop category down here. It gives me all of them. I could go through and pick which ones are most expensive, or I could also come in and just do a little right click, hit my sort. Let's do a more sort options. Let's sort this by category. Actually, how about by sum of spend? And I want it to go the other way. Why'd that go that way for me? not ascending, we want descending. There we go, sum of spend. Okay, now I've got my top three. So to answer that question, my top three categories are still unidentified and purchase finished goods. Let's keep this chart alive here for a minute. Double check our question. Top 10 spend categories, not the top three. And how much we spent there over the last 3 years. So actually, I do need to throw my years back in. If I click on here, grab year, drag it back over, 2018, 19, and 20. Here's a little trick with pivot table too. If I want this to be only my last 10 years, go back into that sort option. Actually, well, it's this one. Let's put it in this actual column up here. Now when I do it, it's going to give me some different sort options if I hit this pivot table option. Now I'm just wasting your guys' time. Remind me how I used to do that. If I click on my little arrow, I've got my A to Z, I've got my more sort options. Hit my more sort. It's still just taking me into the same category. More options, that's the one. Alright, maybe it's not. I want to keep my video short. One of you can find the way for me, but it's very easy. Usually one of the way in here is to find one that just drops it to your top 10. In this particular case, you could do it a different way too. Since we have these in order, we could come down and kind of filter them out. But since you're just answering the question for me, just come down until you have 10 of them highlighted in yellow, and that works for me as well. So again, if I'm going to do an analysis, I'd probably spend my time first on these top 10, these big guys where I've got, looks like in most cases, lots of money. Look what's going on here. Right away, I do see something that's concerning. Die casting went from 5 million to 8 million down to 100,000. Something's going wrong there. That means I've got something messed up. I got to figure that out. There's a good chance. Look at this up here as well. Look at my unidentified. Went from 1.5 million to 1.9 million up to 23 million. Something's going on where I've got a lot of unclassified stuff under this unidentified. And I'll bet you a lot of my die cast probably went there as well. Just again, part of that spend analysis, playing with the numbers. Let's bounce down. I've only got 8 minutes. I want to keep this video under 10. So I'm going to go look here. I'm going to take my electromechanical category and tell me how many suppliers there are and how many suppliers account for 80% of that category spend. Once again, I'm just going to copy this tab. Each time I make a copy, it takes that pivot table over for me. This was question 5, I believe. Now I want just my electromechanical category. So I'm going to drag my category up here to the top to filters. Then I'll come up here and go down until I find electromechanical. Choose only that one. It's got my spend over the 3 years. I actually want to look at it just on the 2020, I believe. Electromechanical, tell me how many suppliers there are and how many suppliers account for 80% of my spend. Let's filter that year down to 2020. Let's throw our suppliers in there. That's the vendor name. Let's sort that once again. More sort options. Let's do descending based on dollar. Got my top. If I wanted to do that 80-20 and find out what the 80% were, there's a few different ways. One, I've got my 15 million down here. I can very easily do a formula. That's going to be B59. So we'll just say each one of these, B5 divided by B59, anchor in that B59, turn that into a percentage, double click and drag it down. When I highlight these first few, right there I cross the 80% line. That tells me is my 80% of my electromechanical spend is coming from 8 suppliers. And yet altogether we have 54 suppliers. So that whole 80-20 rule of where I should be concentrating spending my time, this is telling me here's where I spend my time. I'm going to stop this recording and start it up again as another one, just a lower one. Well, you know what? Let's just keep going. It's giving me the time, and you guys can always pause and fast forward and do whatever you want to do. But if I'm coming in, if I'm in charge of the electromechanical spend, here's where I'm going to spend my time. First, I'm going to look at these top guys, and I'm going to decide which of these can I consolidate, maybe have compete against each other, a number of different things. What are the technologies that each of them have? Does PETA Industries compete with Rope Nuggets? Can they actually bid on the same business? I'm also going to look down here. If I highlight all these remaining suppliers that fall into that lower category, that's still $3 million worth of business. Is that $3 million something that some of these top guys could actually take over? Could I consolidate my supply chain? Could I get this base down to a much more reasonable amount, as well as add some leverage up here for these guys to bid on? All kinds of possibilities. To do that further analysis, what I would do is take each one of these, and with a pivot table, it's pretty awesome. Look, I can take Joel's Screw Limited, and if I double click on this 355, it will actually, well, it tells me it all comes from one part number. So we're only buying one part number from these guys. I could take that one part number, I could go find out more about the description of it, see what it is, and if it's something that one of these other suppliers can make, maybe we've got an opportunity. Let's see. What should we do next? Here's one. My unidentified category is very large. I can't have that. Take any of the suppliers in that category with $1 million plus spend in 2017 and find out if they have product. That shouldn't be 2017, that should be 2020. Sorry if you guys did it that way. I didn't update it. Find out if they have product in other categories as well. Show me what this looks like. Let's go do that one. Once again, let's make a copy of this tab. I'm going to call this Q7, question 7. I'm going to change my category up here from electromechanical to unidentified. Gives me all different kinds of suppliers. Let's get rid of this percentage count. We don't need that anymore. What I want to find out is if these different suppliers are also in other categories besides unidentified. And there's a couple ways I can do that. One, I'm filtering unidentified, but I think I can also take that same category. Well, let's just do it. Let's take them one at a time. And sometimes we dig a little deeper on the spend analysis. That's the way we're going to do it. So let's take the aces of Spandes Hearth System Company and Joel's Love and DNU. Let's just take those 3. Aces of Space, Joel. I can also type it like this. There's Joel's Love. Let's take that one. And let's do, what was my final one that I wanted? Well, let's just take those 2 for now then. Now that I have these both here, I'm going to change my category back to all. And with my category back at all, I'm going to grab it and pull it over to columns. Now look at this. This is what it's telling me. So Aces of Spandes is showing 4 million as unidentified, but it looks like in the past years I've had finished material, I've had steel, and I've had die casting. I think that's where my missing die casting is. $4 million of it. So potentially an opportunity that this spend analysis brought up is that we've got product that's miscategorized. And even just by categorizing that property will potentially lead to some sort of efficiency or dollar improvement. Here's another one. Joel's Love, this 1.6 million, also in the past has fallen into that die casting category. Let's take that one just a little bit further then. In fact, both of these. What if we increase our years back to all? Look what happens. You can definitely see that in the past they did have die casting spend of 4 million, 6 million. So something has happened in this past year. And that's part, again, of what that analysis will show us. This video is short. It's sloppy. It's sweet. I know I didn't answer every single one of those questions, but I kind of gave you an idea. I'm not looking for exact answers or certain numbers here. I'm just looking for you to start getting into the habit of following a certain process and digging down a little deeper and looking for ideas and concepts that can come out of this spend analysis. So I hope this video helped you out a little bit, and I hope this will give us something to talk about a little more in class when we get back together. Thanks.